You remember your stories with the kind of detail no one else has. Don't take them with you when you go, share them. I'm Christy Bridges from One Moment Wiser. Click follow to hear true stories worth remembering and send me a message if you have a story you'd like to tell. Hello, welcome to One Moment Wiser. This is Christy Bridges and it's Mother's Day. And you know what? Every single one of us has a mother. So even if you haven't been able to give birth to your own child or you've chosen not to, that doesn't completely remove the celebration for Mother's Day. God teaches us so much about himself in the way that he helps us with our relationships with our parents. We go from being born and expecting this person to give us everything. And we grow up and we realize they're just a person and God is the source of everything we need. And then, some of us have times that we need our relationships with our mothers healed. God is capable of doing that. And so in this relationship with our own mothers, we get to see God at work if we lean on him. So today, I hope that you are able to celebrate your own mother. We also want to just talk to you. There are some people here who haven't given birth to their own children. There are some people who mourn or just wish they could skip Mother's Day because it hurts. And so today we want to bring you specifically a little hope, because your Father in heaven, different than any father you've ever met on earth, your Father in heaven, the perfect Father, loves you and he knows what's in your heart. And he knows the gifts he's given you and he knows the plans he has for you that will make you fully fulfilled. And he knows that hurt and he wants to touch that. So today I have with me Jen Renee Owens. Jen is the author of Red Sea Situations, the creator of Kamau Self-Care, and actually several self-care courses. And she's a social worker and chaplain. So Jen has good stuff for you. And I almost forgot. Excuse me, I'm choking today. Before we let Jen take the stage, you're going to be so glad that we did. I want to show you something. I'm celebrating my mom today, and my mom is monstrously creative. She is so creative, and she makes she does all kinds of like scripture prints and hymn cards and things like that. But she makes these really cool cups on Zazzle, and you'll see me drinking my water, trying not to choke again from this cup today. It says, "One thing I have asked from the Lord that I shall seek, that I may dwell in the house of the Lord all the days of my life, to behold the beauty of the Lord and meditate in his temple." And so I'm going to post a link to where you can see this and other mugs, just because I think my mom's super cool and I want everybody to see what she's made and have a chance to have some inspiration with your coffee each morning. So Jennifer, thank you so much for being here today. How long have we known each other now?
Oh God, Christy, I don't know. 15 years?
I know.
At least what? Maybe 10. Yeah, I think something more around that time.
You are such a blessing in my life. And I hate that you live all the way across the country now, but I'm so glad that you're getting time to spend time with your parents up close and personal. That's so important.
Yeah. Also, it was my beautiful place.
Yeah. And all your brothers and sisters too, right?
Yeah, I'm with all my siblings, and I just want to say happy Mother's Day to you, your mom, and also to my mom. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Happy birthday, happy Mother's Day, moms.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
So you have a unique story that started with some hope, had a little sorrow, and has ended in some beautiful things in your life. So would you just share that with us?
Sure. Can I ask? I want to know from you, but I got a question for you first. Though.
Yes,
What was it about my story that stood out to you? And then I'll share it because
you
I'm
bet.
just noticing. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you know, um, I have known several people in my life who didn't have their own children,
Mhm.
and for different reasons.
Mhm.
But they had these loving, wonderful, nurturing hearts, and they wanted to be there for someone else's child. They wanted to, adopt and raise a family,
Mhm.
and or they've fostered. I have several friends who are foster parents, and
Mhm.
I've seen the heartache when someone isn't able to get on the adoption list, or they wait for years and years
Yeah.
and years and never get picked.
Mhm.
And I've seen the heartache of those who have fostered children and had to let those children go. And it
Yeah.
hurts more than we set ourselves up to expect. We try to prepare ourselves, right? But they end up having to let those children go, and sometimes into situations where uh, they care so much about the kid that they're really worried, and
Yeah.
we have to trust God with that. So when you told me your story, it was just like I could see so many people in my life feeling the things that you felt. And I can
Yeah.
see so much in you that I think every kid in the world, an adult, needs to get a little bit of your nurturing, a little bit of your compassion and wisdom.
Yes. 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 So, my I do have a very unique story. Thank you for doing that, by the way. Thank you for sharing, because um, I want to hit where the crux of what the reason why you asked, and I think that's important too because it is unique, and it's a God story, and I think a lot of times we don't always understand God's stories, but as long as God understands them, that's really what matters. Um, I there's a book called The Purpose Driven Life, and the very first page when you open it, it says it's not about you, right? I mean, that's the very first sentence. Wow. And so that knocks me out like alone, right? When I picked up the book and I opened it, I was like, okay, well, what is it about? Purpose, right? When you're purpose driven, I realized that sometimes your life takes a different turn, and sometimes it takes several turns throughout your life that you are not aware that may even come or that may take quick turns. And um, I'm a person that's absolutely purpose driven. I don't know what else to do but be purpose driven. And a lot of times, I think sometimes it can be, um, what do you call it, like an enigma, because I'm always wanting to do what God wants me to do. But sometimes I want to do it like to the upteenth degree, right? I would say, see, I'm what, 53. I don't have any problem telling my age, but I'm 53 years
Mhm.
old, and um, several years ago, like, so when I was in my early 20s, I wanted a child, and I also wanted to just be graced with opportunity to mother. And I was married to another man in my first marriage. And during that marriage, there was just things that not working very well. And for the least of what I can say about that is just that uh, I prayed and I said, God, hey, if this is not going to work out, I don't want to bring kids into it. So I just didn't want a legacy created in that manner if it wasn't going to be purpose, right? And so a marriage that wasn't purpose for the exact reason I think that God wanted it to was something a way for me, put it that way, to honor God. And therefore, I didn't want to produce anything out of it that was not His will. And so I asked God not to allow me to bear children. And So the next couple of years, I think I went through a period of barrenness. And so a lot of people don't know my story. And it's funny because just recently I shared it to a group of friends who live here in Rochester. Everybody was talking about mommying and mothering and nurturing and everything. And I kind of said, well, here's my story. and, and not that anybody asked, but I know they wonder, why I've never had biological children. And
Mhm.
I think I've summed it up at, from my 20s all the way up into my, uh, all the way up into probably, like now, because I think things are still unfolding for me. I don't think that, um, um, I just think things continue to unfold and wisdom continues to unfold sometimes. And so
Yeah.
sometimes you really don't even know or have full revelation as a person who loves God, like, where God is really taking this. And I think that's the beauty of knowing God, like, just that He continues to give more and more revelation as time goes on.
One Moment Wiser will be right back. If you had a podcast, what would you share? Would you interview people you like? Share music you write? Would you talk about the ways you'd change the world? What if you did? People might support your music. They might even vote for you. Whatever your purpose, Anchor is the easiest way to make a podcast. You can record on your phone or computer, split recordings with a single click, add music, and drag all the pieces into one episode for all the best podcasting sources to play. Not only is it free, you get paid if you choose to advertise things you like. Download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started and tag me so I can listen.
But anyway, like, so back to my 20s, that first marriage ended. I did not have children. Had some very spiritual experiences that might have taken me into a place where I mothered in a spiritual way. Dreams and visions, and also relationships, right? Because I'm a therapist, and so I also um, had relationships with people who had been unparented, right? And by this I mean people who had substance use issues and problems and concerns, and also just people who didn't have parents in their lives to nurture them. And so I was, I guess, the nurturer, quote unquote. And those are very, very precious experiences. Some I still hold very, very dear to this day. So when you ask me, are you a mom or, what have you, I would say, yeah, heck, there's some people I have prayed through and, done things for and felt like they were my kids. Just because I was that spiritual nurturer or I was that mother for them. And what an honor, that God chose me. I look at it now at the age of 53 with totally different eyes than I did at 25, right? At 25, I was hurting. Oh God, yeah, I don't know if I want any children. Da da da. I get divorced, and then I'm like, oh my God, I didn't have children. And I think I got divorced around 38 years old, and then I was like, well, if it don't happen within the next 3 years, I don't know that it's gonna happen. And I think I got divorced at 37, yeah, and then 38. I did not expect to get married again. And then I did at 38, and it just evolved to, what I think I have this peace that if I don't have children, I'm okay. Um, a lot of that though was wrestling with God and wrestling with the truth of, Lord, what's your plan? What's your purpose for me versus what I wanted, right? And
Mhm.
so I began to just really give God praise for giving me those opportunities that I explained earlier, where I was a therapist and I was working with people and children. I was a school social worker for like 10 years, and had many babies, plenty babies, every day, who came to give me hugs. And, I couldn't take them home. I couldn't diaper them. I couldn't do all that. But I have a family legacy of taking people in and taking children in and nurturing others. And whether by social work or by pastoring, that's just in our bones. We really have these kind of really nurturing relationships with people. I have like 4 or 5 nieces and nephews that have are social workers. They all care very
Wow.
strongly, and we all look out. That's just what we do. Um, and that's a Cox legacy. It's a Stinson legacy. It's my mom and dad's last names, but we just do that. And so, um, I guess, you know, when I bring it up to that point in my life where I said, okay, I um, would like to know what adoption or fostering might look like. And I knew I had to foster first in order to adopt, at least, with my uh, finances wise, that would be the way to go about it. So
Oh,
my
yeah.
my second husband and I, Tim, we decided we would, when we were in Tulsa, that we would take on the opportunity of fostering. And we did that for, let's see, we looked for about a year. Trying to remember things because they're kind of a little foggy, but and then I knew it would be a girl. I kind of got that revelation, and that we thought a little girl. We didn't know if she would be one or she would be 10 years old. And then I think for probably about after maybe a year to 8 months, we met a beautiful little girl called Dee. I'll call her Dee. And just gorgeous. And met her at a fostering or adoption party. And began to get to know her. And then she finally came home to stay with us. And it was the beginning of summer. And I'll never forget it because she just had this bright um, personality and energetic personality. And me being an introvert, her being an extrovert, it was, it was a whole nother, like, wow.
It's kind of like having to live with me,
Truly.
right?
Yeah, like Christy, right? So it was truly a parenting journey, to say the least. And I got to know her. And I don't know, during this time, so we had some very special experiences. She was going to camp several days of the time she was with us. She began to really get to know me really well. She loved to sing. She loved to dance. She loved church. And before she left me, she got saved and accepted God into her
Oh,
life.
that's so
And
wonderful.
so, and I thought, wow, I really hope this really stays with her, and there's so many things about this little girl that I absolutely loved. And to be honest, I think I fell in love with her like from the start, like first 2 weeks of just being with her. And so, at one point in the mothering journey, I realized, wow, this mothering thing, it is real. Like, because I thought, oh, how people have a baby, or I have plenty of friends who go, you know, you have a kid, and it's just something about it. It just pulls at you, and da da da. Whatever that is, I felt it, right? And I thought I
Uh-huh.
wouldn't because it was a fostering relationship, and that she wasn't technically mine. But I was happy that she would, grace my life and all that. And I didn't really think a lot out of it. Well, the heart tugs and the pulls, nurturing and growing with her and learning with her over the course of 3 months, mind you. That's all I had with her. Was awesome, and
Wow.
just fully changed me as an individual. It was life changing. So during that period, I remember her mentioning, that she wanted to go back, to stay with her mom. Like, so if anything ever happened between us and her mom was still alive, so she wanted to go back to her. And that just broke my heart. And I was like,
Oh,
oh, wow. So I really prayed about it. And I was like, well, God, what is happening here? Should I be afraid? Is this a scary journey? Seems pretty different here, to have this conversation. Because she was very, like, intuitive. Like, she would have really deep discussions with me. She was not your normal 10-year-old. In fact, she turned 11 while she was with us, and she just would bring up conversations like this. And I remember her one day, clear as day, saying to me, I want to go back to foster care. And I said, whoa, like the brakes put on. I was like, why? And she, I think, it, what I learned about her over time, and so you have to understand me too, to be able to let a child go like that when they're only 10 years old, and to say something like that carries a lot of weight. And I'm one who will totally let someone evolve into their own being, into their own life, and into their own lifestyle. Like, if you tell me I want to go in this direction, I'm like, I'm letting you go. I don't care how old you are. And The more I prayed about it, the more I was like, wow, I think I'm gonna have to let her go, because it wasn't like she said it once. It was like, I really, yep, I'm ready. And so I was like, okay, and it was like, I remember the day she was headed out the door, and I think Tim was getting ready to take her somewhere, to back to the foster place where she was going to get picked up and everything. And she turned around and looked at me, and I looked at her, and I just, waved and smiled, and it was okay. It was, I knew I was doing the right thing. You know how you know that you're doing the right thing? You just don't, it doesn't feel good. I mean, to your senses, your
right.
mind, your body, your soul, even. It's like your heart is broken. I mean, it's like,
Yeah,
I
I know
felt
that
all that.
feeling.
I felt all that. But at the same time, I knew I had to let her go. Because I just knew this was her destiny. I don't know how I knew it, but I knew that she was supposed to be with me 3 months and be with Tim for 3 months, and then she was supposed to move on. And that was it. I just knew it. Um, and so my when I get back to purpose, and I think back to purpose and letting her go, um, I believe all that is purpose, like all of it. Tim has three beautiful children, a girl and two boys, and they're
And they
part of
are
our
good
lives.
looking kids. Oh my
Um,
goodness.
they're
And
gorgeous.
smart. Anyway.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, and we have our first grandchild, and so just really excited about them being in our lives as well. And over time, a lot of things have healed, but it just feels. I guess when you put the whole picture together, like, you can just see how things fit, and I think that, for me, after she left, I didn't understand it for years, and I kept saying, please, God, pull the pieces together, like, of the puzzle, like, just show me uh, where this will be a healing bond for her in some way. And sure enough, at the end of that story, may have happened like 4 to 5 years later. I knew someone that knew her family pretty well, and at the time, the girl D that I had been fostering, at the time, her mom had been in prison, and she had
Mhm.
always thought, well, if mom gets out of prison, I'm just going to go back to her. Well, mom passed away in prison. And I
Oh
found
no.
that out through somebody who knew Dee's family pretty well. And I was like, oh my God. Then it hit me like a ton of bricks. Like, you were that bomb that she needed to let go of her mom, because she had let go of me and had loved me so strongly and so well. During that time of her life, she was able to let go of her biological mom in a very much graceful way. And when she passed away, and I was like, literally, it hit me like a ton of bricks. that this spiritual knowledge and this spiritual pain was not in vain. That as bad as it felt for me that day when she turned around and walked out the door and looked back at me like, "You sure this okay?" I just nodded and told her, "Oh, yes, yes, it is, and it's okay." I remember even the day after she left, I went back and told her, "If you want to come back, you're welcome to do that. But we also want you to know it's okay to the decision that you made." Just wanted to honor her and her decision, and that's what she chose to do, to still stay away. So it was really interesting later, years later, to find out that she had to let go of her biological mom just like she let go of her foster mom.
Yeah.
But I think that experience of letting go was in her soul already. It was cemented. It had been born, if you will. And I think that was what she needed from me. That was how I added grace to her life so that she could endure the pain of losing her biological mother. So, so that's my story. And, healing happened after that slowly. I actually took a couple months off from
Yeah.
working. I did counseling, grief counseling for the first time in my life, which was very short lived. But the counselor, she let me go so early. I guess she knew I was a therapist, and but at the same time, therapists hurt and they grieve too. And I got kind of mad at her because she let me go so quick. But she was like, "You got this. You know exactly what happened, and you have peace with it. And because you do, I'm not gonna see you." So
Oh my gosh.
I was mad. I was like, "What is she talking about?" I guess I had to sit with my grief and sit with my pain for a while, but it was all good. I did get over it eventually, and I took the time I needed. I was doing all the right things, and I think she was just affirming that it's okay. Like one day you might write a book about. That's the last thing she said to me in my last session, where she goes, "One day you might write a book about this 3-month mothering deal." And I was like, "What?" But yeah, that's my story. So
If you're enjoying this podcast, tune in next week to hear more. I'm Christy Bridges, and I teach Christians how to become authors because God speaks to different people through our unique voices. Visit me at onemomentwiser.com. That's the number 1, momentwiser.com.